Hey guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with another trope recommendation video for forced proximity, which I've never done on my channel before, but I asked my channel members what kind of trope video they wanted next, and overwhelmingly they said they wanted forced proximity. I love forced proximity, but I was realizing I was putting this list together that there are so many different types of forced proximity. I know the only one bed trope is one of the most popular of this, but my favorites are also when they're forced to take a trip together or when they're forced to be in a scenario together where they're constantly around each other. So I have a big list. Let me know before I get started, how many books do you like in recommendation videos? Because I have like 15 on this list. I don't know if I'll go through all of them if that's too many. If you like 5, what is your perfect range of books in a recommendation video? I feel like I should put a ton because there are books I talk about all the time and I want to make sure everybody has a new recommendation, but I don't know what you guys prefer. So let me know, but I'll go ahead and get to my recommendations. I do have a bunch of different genres, so I have historical, contemporary, I have one fantasy on here even, so I have a lot. One of my favorites, and I'm actually going to interview this author early February. I think it's February 5th. She's going to be on my channel, which I'm super excited for. That is A Promise of Fire by Amanda Boucher. I need to finish the series, but they are magically chained together for the entire book, and it is absolutely fabulous. He actually kind of kidnaps her basically and is trying to take her with him, and he chains her to him so that she won't run away, and she's known as the Kingmaker. She is a very powerful woman, and I loved every scenario where they were literally chained together. They had to sleep next to each other and she was getting really frustrated with him, and it is just such a good fantasy. They obviously end up falling for each other, but what I loved about her character was she could take care of herself, but he is someone who would tear down the world for her. So she is very strong and can hold her own in a fight, but he is still there to protect her, and it was absolutely amazing. I love this, and they literally are forced to be chained together for the most of the book, not the entirety of it, for most of it, and it was just so good. Another paranormal kind of fantasy one is Four Psychos by Chrissy Cunning. This one, our heroine is literally trapped in the house because she's a ghost, and so she's been watching these 4 guys. It is reverse harem. She's been watching them for I think over 2 years now, and they can't see her, and she has no idea why she's there, who she is, how to control herself. And then one day something happens where she needs to help protect them, and she can finally like touch something, and they realize that she's there, and so she is pretty much stuck with them. Like if she tries to leave them, she loses her really like ability to be there as a ghost, and so she has no choice but to be around them, and she's finally being able to appear to them and like touch things, and so it's such a fun romance. They are all like demon hunters, and then she ends up helping them on like trials and stuff, but she physically cannot be away from them, and it is such a good forced proximity. She has to live with them, and she's been watching them for 2 years because she has no idea even how to leave, and it is just so good. Such a fun paranormal. I've only read the first 2 in the series. There are 4 books in the series, but they are so quick to get through, and they'll definitely want to read more. And what I loved is that book 2 had so many reveals. They don't keep all the secrets until the end, which I appreciated, so you get more to keep you wanting to read. Another one I really loved is One Hot Italian Summer by Karina Halley. This is my favorite Karina Halley book. It's single dad. It takes place in Italy. Our heroine's a writer, and her agent is like, I have a villa in Italy. Our heroine did lose her writing partner at the beginning of this book, and she does not know how to write on her own. She's just really stuck and grieving, and so her agent says, go to my house in Italy, stay there and write. And so she does, but little does she know, a single dad with his son is staying there as well, and he's off limits, and he catches her sunbathing. And it's a very fun meet cute, and it is just such a good romance. It makes me want to go jump on a plane to Italy. I love romances about writers too, and he's a single dad and he's an artist, and they have to live together. So it's definitely forced proximity in that sense, and this is just such a good romance, and I cannot shout about it enough. Everyone needs to read it. Then I have Twisted Games by Anna Huang. I didn't love the first book in this series, and book 3 actually comes out this week, and I'm really excited for it, but this one is a bodyguard romance, and I feel like bodyguard romances fit the forced proximity trope so well, but she's royal as well, and so it adds a little angst because he's not royal, and she ends up having to get married, and they kind of like vet her options of like who she should try to have a relationship with to get married, like for political reasons. So it really did give me Princess Diaries 2 vibes because they do butt heads a lot as well, and a couple years do pass in this book, which I was definitely surprised by because a lot of romances we don't have like a big time jumps and stuff, so they spend a lot of time together. but he's her bodyguard, so he has to spend a lot of time near her, and I just really enjoyed this one, and it's definitely one of the better bodyguard romances I've read. Then I have Twice Shy by Sarah Hogle. This one I was hesitant to read because I didn't love her first book, which was You Deserve Each Other, but this one was adorable, and now it took me a little bit to get into it because I only loved it once the romance got going. And so our heroine inherits this house that's like falling apart. Little does she know, someone that she's never met before also inherited the house, and it was someone I believe that her grandmother was close with, and they have to renovate this house together, and they do not get along whatsoever. But he is definitely like a grumpy, brooding, silent kind of hero, and once he gets to know our heroine, his walls come down. He is the absolute sweetest, and I was obsessed with him. But they don't really talk to each other a lot in the beginning, and they kind of just like deal with each other. They know they have to be around each other because they were both in the will, and neither one of them is willing to give it up, but they are constantly around each other, and it's just so cute. I really loved his character and him talking about his anxiety, and I just really love this book. Another one I haven't talked about in a while, but I absolutely loved when I read it, I think in 2020 now, is Whiteout by Adriana Anders. This is a romantic suspense, and our hero and our heroine get stuck in Antarctica together. And so what happens is she is the chef at this like research camp in Antarctica. He's one of the researchers. He's very grumpy. She kind of has a thing for him, but she's supposed to be leaving that day, and bad guys show up. She misses the plane out because she's hiding because the bad guys are where she is, and our hero was out researching and he wasn't going to leave yet, and so he finds her, and they realize what the bad guys are after, so they have to leave their camp with what the bad guys are after and try to go to another camp that's like miles away in the Antarctic. So they're traveling in the Antarctic together, stuck together, and it was so good. I really love cold, snowy romances, especially when it's kind of survival based, and so this one was such a good survival romance to me, and they had to like cuddle up together for warmth, and it's just forced proximity in the snow is just on another tier, so that's why I really love this one. For a historical option, we have A Reckless Match by Kate Bateman. This one is just so fun, and I really loved how Kate Bateman kind of took things from, not like took them, but it really reminded me of like older historicals, like Amanda Quick historicals of what I've read. And so in this one, our hero and our heroine are from rival families, and they have this piece of land that they both kind of own, and they have to each send someone from their families every year on the same day to this plot of land, and if one of them doesn't show up, the other family gets it. And so this year it's our hero and our heroine who meet up, but they kind of go around looking at the land because our heroine really wants to find something there. I forget what it was, but she's trying to find something that'll get her family money because they're losing a lot of money, and they go exploring together, and they kind of get stuck places on this land together, and even like fall through these hidden caves together, and then they find people that are smuggling things in the caves, and so things get really intense really fast, and they have to explore these places together, and that's where it's kind of forced proximity. They really don't like each other, but they start kind of liking each other, and he is playing games with her because she wants something that'll help her family get money as well, and he knows about it, and so he's like testing her and not letting her have it, and it was just such a fun dynamic between our main characters and how we have like rival families. I don't read that a lot. I definitely need to read more historicals with rival families because I really love this one. Another one is With You Forever by Chloe Leese. This is book 4 in her Bergman Brothers series. All of them can be read as standalones though, and while this one is my least favorite of the series, I still give it 4 stars. It was still really good. This is just an exceptional series. So when I say it's my least favorite, it's still a book I really enjoyed. And so our hero and heroine are friends, but like they're both kind of too shy to say something, but everybody's trying to push them together. So our heroine is staying at his family's house, but they don't know that he's renovating it. And so he is renovating this house, and she was planning on staying there. And so he's like, you know what, it's okay, just like come stay at my house. Don't tell my family I'm doing this. I need to finish this. I didn't tell them. It's going to cost a lot of money. He's very wealthy though. He's a really successful artist, I believe. And so he invites her to stay at his house, and they have to spend a lot of time living together. And it is so sweet. I really love their characters. She also deals with a lot of stomach issues. I don't know really how to put that, but she has a chronic illness that has to deal with her stomach, and it was really great seeing that representation in a character because I don't feel like we get that. I've never read a book with that before, I don't think. And so I really loved our heroine's character and how they had to act like they didn't like each other, but they're really shy and don't want to like say anything, and it was super cute, and I really love this one. I love the whole family as well, so I do recommend reading them in order so you can see all the family in them, but you could read it as a standalone if you want to. For a dark romance, I have When Heroes Fall, and this one is another one where they have to live together. So our heroine's a lawyer, our hero's in the mafia, he's on trial for something, and she's the grump, he's the sunshine, and what happens is he demands she lives with him because he gets put on house arrest during the trial, and he's like, I need updates on the case, so she needs to live with me. Really, he's just really into her and wants her to stay with him, and so it is so good. And he is another character that is like, touch her and you die, I will go to the ends of the earth for this woman, and I loved it. I loved how she had to stay with him. He is so social and like loves people around him, and she's the complete opposite, and she is very hardened because of what happened to her in the past, which is actually in the Evolution of Sin series by Gianna, which is the trilogy she first wrote. This is a sister from that series, and it's just everything. I loved it, and book 2 is great as well. Then I have Always and Forever by Beverly Jenkins. This one is a traveling romance, and so I have a couple that they like have to travel together, and so in this one our heroine needs to bring mail order brides to, I think, her cousin who has like a bunch of men that are single where he lives, and so she takes volunteers from where she lives and she's like, let's go, but they need a wagon master, someone who will successfully and safely take them to where they need to go, and the one she has lined up dies, and so she hears about this other guy, she goes to meet him, he's in the brothel, and she needs to get things done, so she goes and confronts him, and he thinks that she's there for brothel reasons, and it's so funny. So they really butt heads, and then he agrees to take her and all of the women on this trip, but he's like, I'm the wagon master, you need to listen to me because I know you won't. And so they really butt heads through the trip, but they start slowly falling for each other, and they're traveling together so they can't escape one another, and she is so hard-headed that she wants everything to go her way, and it's just such a fun Beverly Jenkins romance, and I would definitely recommend this one if you love historicals. One that I know a ton of people have already read, but it really does this well and has the only one bed trope, is The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. This one is a fake dating. They go to Spain for a wedding together. They hate each other though because they work together, and they arrive and they have this apartment that they're gonna stay at, and it has 2 bedrooms. But then I think like her cousin shows up and is like, hey, I'm taking the extra room, and they're like, oh, are you? And so they have to share a bed and a room together, and it forces them to get closer, and it's so fun. I really enjoyed this one. It is a little long, I will say. I don't think it's worth like the excessive hype people give it, but I thought it was a really fun romance and I really enjoyed it. It did have some things it could work on, but it was one that was really fun, and it definitely has forced proximity. Then I have To Be Alone With You by Jodie Slaughter, which is a quarantine romance, and you can't get more forced proximity than having to quarantine together, and so this one's a lot of fun because it's an age gap. Our heroine tried her shot at something with him in the past, but she was pretty young, and he's like, you're too young for me, no. So she's already been shot down, and now he is, I believe he's an artist in this one, and now it's years later, and it's finally like, oh hey, you're actually older, I am attracted to you. Even though they're still the same age gap, it is very different, like depending on what age you start an age gap with, and so they have to quarantine together. It's not like too bad, I will say. Like, I'm very hesitant reading anything that has to do with COVID, but it was just a really fun take on a quarantine romance, so I would definitely recommend reading this one. And the last one I have is The Devil and the Heiress by Harper St. George, and this one's another traveling romance where our heroine is an heiress. She has tons of men after her, so she's finally like, no, I'm gonna just leave. I don't want these men to force me into marriage. There's one guy who's trying to trap her into marriage. Our hero wants to marry her for money reasons, but he kind of likes her too, and he's already been shot down by her father, and so he's like, fine, I'll kidnap her. And so he offers her a ride, and he's like, I'll take you, but he's really taking her to Scotland to elope with her. And so it's they're traveling together, but it's super sweet how they end up falling for each other, and he realizes, he's like, oh crap, I don't want to actually like ruin this woman's life, even though I'm doing it for selfish reasons. And so he has to like reevaluate what he's doing, and they fall for each other, and there's a marriage of convenience, and there's groveling, and it's just so good. I love this book so much better than book 1. Highly recommend this one. And the last one I have is A Week to Be Wicked by Tessa Dare. This one's another traveling romance, and it's so fun. Our heroine is into, I think she's into fossils, and she wants to go to this convention, but she needs a way to get there, and so our hero is actually trying to court her sister, and she says, absolutely not, court me instead, and he's like, no, and they like go back and forth, and then she's like, well, you need to take me to Scotland. He's like, no, but he ends up doing it. I don't remember like the logistics of how he ends up doing it, but our hero's terrified of like carriages because he like coaches. He got into an accident when he was young that killed his parents, and so they have to find ways to get there without a coach, and there's highwaymen that rob them, and they have to stay in a room with only one bed, and they say that they're brother and sister at some point, and it's just so fun. I've not laughed out loud as much as I have in this book. I loved it so much, and they're trying to get to Scotland, and it's so fun. They are stuck together on this road trip, and I loved it. And those are some of my favorite forced proximity romances. Let me know if you have any other recommendations, and I hope you enjoyed this. And if you're interested in being a member and having a say in any of the videos I film, it's always down below if you are on the desktop, laptop version of YouTube. It'll say join, and you can join and become a member of my channel. But that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day. Bye.